And while all of this is going on, questions are, how will this affect the African continent, especially the economy now 2 days into this? We have Mr. Bismarck Rewane, Chief Executive Officer at Financial Derivatives, now to tell us how this connects to Nigeria and, of course, the African continent. Good afternoon, Mr. Rewane. Good to have you.
Good afternoon, Ini.
All right. So what should African economies be doing at this time?
Well, the way the Ukraine invasion affects Africa is in 4 dimensions. One is the fact that Africa is a commodity-dependent economy. In other words, it generates most of its revenue from commodity exports. 2 is that Africa relies mainly on China and Russia for financial support. 3 is that Africa also imports a lot of oil. So when the price of oil is increased, inflation in Africa also increases. And finally, Africa is also caught in between this crisis in terms of coming out of a recession. Africa is just coming out of a recession like the rest of the world. Therefore, what does it mean for Africa? It means that, one, that today with the oil prices increasing, the price of petrol and everything across Africa is going to increase. A few oil exporting countries like Nigeria, Angola, and Equatorial Guinea will benefit in the short run, but eventually, when there's a global recession, then it affects everybody, and Africa suffers, like what happened in 1974, what happened in 1981, and what happened in 2009. So the specter of a global inflation, global recession, the specter of increased oil prices, and the specter of global stagflation, not just a recession, stagflation, where the economies actually tank, and high unemployment, having just trying to come out of the COVID problem is a major issue. So this is not a situation that Africa benefits from. A few oil producers will benefit in the short run. Eventually, they suffer. But for a country like Nigeria in particular, it benefits from high oil and gas prices, oil prices, but suffers definitely if there's a global stagflation and a recession at the same time. That's the truth.
All right. So with this movement in oil prices, we see yesterday it went up to 105 and then it's down to 100. What's your outlook for oil prices? And even though you said it's going to be a short-term benefit for countries like Nigeria?
Well, I think that oil prices were already basically short-term. You can see oil hang around 105, maybe 110. But it will come back down to normal, which is around 85, 80. Even at that level, it's going to be a problem. But you cannot take away the view that the Iran nuclear deal is going to be signed. You cannot take away from the view that Russia has a short-term and a long-term goal. So the long-term goal is not to be at war all the time, but the short-term goal is to ask for a regime change in Ukraine and also come back to normal, because Russia is a major oil exporter. Right now, even the Chinese have said they're not going to buy Russian oil anymore. So Russia begins to suffer at this point in time. So the whole idea is that, is this a short-term crisis or a long-term crisis? Remember, this is the longest period in the history of the world when there was peace, between 1947 and today, which is 72 years. All other, between the First World War and the Second World War, between the Franco-Prussian War and the First World War, there were shorter periods. So are we in for a long-term war, or are we in for just a short crisis? This is the big issue right now.
Yeah, big issue that we'll certainly be looking at that space for. Thank you so much, Mr. Bismarck Rewane, Chief Executive Officer of Financial Derivatives Company. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you for having me.